There's a storm across the valley. The clouds are rolling in. The afternoon is heavy on your shoulders. There's a truck out on the 4-lane, a mile or more away. The whining of his wheels just makes it colder.
Welcome to Community Forum. My name is Priscilla Almquist-Olson, host for today's program. Today is January 31st, 2020. Can you believe that? And today it gives me great pleasure to welcome one of our most distinguished scientists and environmental lawyers in the region, who is also a resident of Easton, Kyla Bennett. Kyla, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
Wonderful. Now, we learned recently about the PFAS chemicals in 6 of our 7 town wells.
Correct.
Now, could you explain to the listening audience what PFAS chemicals are?
Sure. They are per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, which they're a very persistent man-made chemical that they were developed first in the 1940s, and they've got an incredibly strong carbon-fluorine bond that is almost unbreakable, and that forms like a backbone or a chain, and then there's a lot of other things off of it. And they're pretty ubiquitous. They're used in nonstick pans and bakeware. They're used in waterproofing and stain-proofing carpets, like I'm sure this carpet down here has PFAS in it. Waterproof clothing, in our dental floss, in takeout containers for food, in some makeup, and they're just everywhere. And we've recently learned that they are very dangerous to humans and other animals. They can cause cancer, high cholesterol, developmental problems in children and infants. Mm. So the fact, and 99% of Americans have some in their blood. Mm. And what's scary about this substance is that there was a voluntary ban on the 2 most common ones, PFOS and PFOA. The industries in the United States agreed to stop manufacturing those 2 back in 2012. But they did not agree to stop importing them or using them. So they're still here. And not only that, but the wonderful industries that make this stuff just keep changing the formula. In fact, the company Chemours, which is one of the companies that makes PFAS, has a sign outside one of its factories that says, "Let's change the formula." And that's what they do. Every time a state bans one, they'll make another one. And now there are almost 5,000 of them. Mm. And the state of Massachusetts is poised to issue a drinking water standard. It's out, it's proposed. 20 parts per trillion of 6 of the 5,000 PFAS substances will be regulated come end of February.
6 out of 5,000?
Yep, 6 down, 4,994 to go.
Wow.
Yeah, scary.
It is scary. Does that mean we have to stop flossing our teeth?
There are certain brands of dental floss. I use Desert Essence, which is a tea tree oil one, and it does not have PFAS, but you can research it. There are several brands that do not use PFAS.
Okay.
And actually, you raise a good point, because as consumers, mm-hmm. we can demand and we can use our purchasing power to refuse to buy mm-hmm. things that have PFAS in them and instead ask for right. items that do not use it.
Now, how do we know when we look at the ingredients of a product if PFAS are in there?
That's what's so awful about this is you don't know. And a lot of the companies are not forthcoming. For example, we learned that artificial turf has PFAS in it because my company tested. And when you go to these turf companies, most of them say, "Oh no, we don't use PFOA." And I was like, that's not the question. Do you use any of the 5,000 PFAS? And they'll say, "We don't use PFOA." They won't answer you. Mm-hmm. The company that made our turf here in Easton, Shaw Industries, did say, "Yeah, we use it. We have to use it. We have no choice but to use it." So we know it's in there. It's leaching off the fields and getting into our water supply. And every town that has one of these fields is having the same thing happen.
Now, you spoke eloquently and fiercely and strongly at the town meeting.
To no avail.
Well, the proposal was to put the turf and spend the balance of the funds that were raised to the installation of this artificial turf. And the surprising thing was that you were so convincing and persuasive that you won that ban. And then there was a vote to reconsider, and the fellow who was in charge of the fundraising got up and gave this appeal saying, my goodness, we've raised $700,000, I think that's what it was, and why shouldn't we use this money to benefit because all the Eastern people provided these funds. And for some reason, the money issue was suddenly shifted from the health risk issue to the money issue. And so then it was, the ban was defeated.
I was very disappointed. It is so frustrating for me. I've lived in Easton for 30 years, and I've spent many of those years trying to save Easton from itself.
Yeah.
And this was one of those instances where I knew what was right environmentally and for our health, and the majority of the town who showed up at town meeting did not care.
No, and I think many of them were pro-athletic and events, and they wanted that turf, and they weren't going to listen. They were going to close their ears to the scientific evidence. And that's really a shame and a pity. I have always, since I've been back home, I'm a townie, but I've been home now for almost 17 years. And I was so proud when I attended town meetings that on so many occasions, the people did the right thing, did what was right and best for Easton. And this was an enormous mistake.
It was an enormous mistake. And for me, it was particularly frustrating because I went to the school committee and told them that I believed there was PFAS in the turf. And I said, if you wait 3 weeks, I'll get the test results. And they voted to not wait.
That's amazing. All of the members of the school committee?
No, there was one member who voted to wait.
Who was that?
Michelle Durantz.
Michelle Durantz. Vote for her.
Yes. She was wonderful. Yep.
And that was the other surprising thing, that here these toxins are so devastating on young children and developing brains. And I guess we know now that the brain isn't fully developed till the age of 24, 25. So this covered all the children in the sports programs.
Part of the problem is, I think, that if people can't see it or smell it or taste it, they don't believe it. And PFAS is one of those things that's toxic in minute doses. And you can't see it, smell it, or taste it. But it kills. And if anyone has seen the movie Dark Waters, which just came out recently,
I have
excellent
not,
movie.
Yeah,
you should definitely watch it.
I definitely recommend it, and I will be watching it. Yeah.
It's a true story about what happened with PFAS in a West Virginia town, and one lawyer's fight to get compensation for those people and to stop poisoning the people. But it's frightening to me that people won't listen to the scientists. You know, every horror movie starts with somebody ignoring a scientist. And this is, look where we are now.
Yeah.
And I cannot blame the artificial turf entirely on our PFAS contamination in our town, but it certainly is part of it. And the other part of it is our wastewater treatment plant, which was built way too close to our wells. I'm not opposed to wastewater treatment plants. I'm opposed to the effluent pipe of such wastewater treatment plants being so close to our well.
Yes, and and of course we fought that fight too.
We did. We tried. We lost.
We tried and we lost. Yeah.
Yep.
I think that was back when it was the Queeset development.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And people were more interested in the tax advantages.
And the Trader Joe's or the Whole Foods that Doug King promised the town if we voted for it, which I haven't seen.
Right, and the Doug King, of course, is the developer who's developed a lot of things in town. But yeah, we haven't seen any of those things.
No, we haven't.
No. And of course, it's wise not to believe those benefits until they materialize.
Correct.
And then we're pleased, but they didn't. So what's going to happen when the town faces the liability?
It's a good question.
It's going to happen when in other words, it's penny wise and pound foolish to vote for this turf, because
we
the
may have to rip it out.
Yeah, and the lawsuits that are going to come from children who are severely damaged by this turf. There are cases. I read a case study where they looked at all of the soccer players, but in particular the goalies, because the goalies roll in this turf and get it all over and get it in their hands, under their gloves, in their hands, and on their necks, and they're always rolling in. There was a very high degree of mortality among goalies at young ages as compared to other soccer players.
Some people say that that study has been debunked. It has not. My company works, I work for public employees for environmental responsibility, and we work with the coach, Amy Griffin, who discovered that problem. It has not been debunked, and recently, a very recent article, 2019, came out, a scientific study, that showed that our primary pathway of exposure to PFAS is from our hands to our mouth. So they said if you don't wash your hands at least 8 times a day, you're getting more exposure to PFAS because it's everywhere. It's on the chairs we're sitting on probably, the carpet. You know, when you're talking about athletes on artificial turf, not only are they diving on it and rolling in it, but they're tying their shoes, they're picking up balls, they have mouth guards that may fall on the ground and then they put them up, or their hands have touched the turf and then they put their mouth guard in or take it out. There's all sorts of pathways of exposure. And so our exposure, we only get 20% of our exposure from drinking water. The rest is dermal, through our skin, and ingestion from foods and things like that, and breathing, inhalation.
Yeah. And lately, I mean, there's so much information about the industry's lack of concern.
Oh, yeah.
Not just for the PFAS, but also for, is it glyphosate?
Oh, yeah, glyphosate.
Which is a weed killer, insect killer, and it's sprayed on crops.
And EPA just said it's okay they just
Did they?
approved it. Yep, yesterday.
Awful. And it's been banned in Europe, I understand.
Oh, it has.
Yeah.
You know, so here's the problem. In the United States, we consider all chemicals innocent until proven guilty. And unfortunately, the burden of proving those chemicals guilty falls on the shoulders of nonprofits like the one I work for, or citizens, or municipalities, and we don't have the resources to do that. In the EU, they have the opposite system, where chemicals are guilty until proven innocent, and they say, we'll use that chemical, or we'll let you use that chemical once you prove to us that it's not harmful.
And that's exactly the way it should be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, I told my daughter that she should stop feeding Cheerios to her children,
my
grandchildren.
I wouldn't feed Cheerios to my kids.
And can you explain to the audience why that's the case?
It's got pesticides in it.
Right.
It has pesticides
And it's
in
got
it.
glyphosate too.
Yeah, and not only that, sometimes the linings of those cereal boxes have PFAS in it, and that gets into your food. So I'm a little anal about this, so I've stopped. I not only have a drinking water filter on my sink because Easton's water is contaminated, and we are going to have to buy a very expensive filtration system because we will be out of compliance on March 1st when this regulation is finalized. So
You're talking about the town.
I'm talking about the town. The town will be out of compliance, and we are going to have to spend 10 to I don't know how many millions on a filtration system. So I'm doing everything I can to reduce my exposure and my family's exposure. So we have a filter, which the town will give a $75 rebate to if you buy a certified filter.
Right.
I have a shower filter now because I just learned that it can be absorbed through your skin. I'm making my own cereal. I don't buy cereal anymore because I can't get answers from, some companies I'll write to and say, hey, do you use PFAS? And they'll say, yeah, we do. And others say, no, we don't, and here's what we use. So my coffee beans, for example, I wrote to the company I use, and they were like, no, we use a plastic that's made out of sugar cane, and you can actually compost your your bag, your coffee bag that it comes in. So I'm fine buying from them. But some of those bags that you buy in the grocery store have PFAS on the lining because it's waterproof and greaseproof.
I see. What about the plastic containers of coffee?
So some plastic, some estimates say about 20% of plastic has PFAS in it. They need it. They don't use it as an ingredient, but they use it in the manufacturing process to extrude the plastic smoothly. So it's kind of like it makes things come out of the machines more smoothly.
I see. Now, thanks to you, I have an A.O. Smith
I love that one.
2-filter water filter. And I purchased it at Lowe's in Brockton for $129.
Yep, it's great.
Great. It removes 99.9% of all the toxins in my Easton water.
Right.
How great is that?
I know.
So I recommend that nobody waits for the town to be told, when is the date?
So the regulation is out, it's in draft form right now.
Oh, that might
and
mean
it's
years.
Nope, February 28th, the comment period closes, and as soon as possible, it's going to come forward. DEP, I have to give kudos to DEP here. They're really working very hard on this. And
Could you tell the audience what the DEP?
Oh, sorry, Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection. So in this particular case, EPA has abandoned us. This administration's EPA has abandoned us. They promised to do something about PFAS. They're not. They promised by the end of 2019. It's 2020. I have not seen anything. So it's up to the states, and Massachusetts has developed one of the strictest standards in the country. Personally, I think it should be even more strict, but it's a really good start, and I'm very happy with what DEP is doing.
Great.
So, and I actually went to the hearing in Lakeville, at DEP's office in Lakeville on Tuesday, and was so happy to see Easton well represented there. We had our DPW director, our water director, and Connor Reed, our town administrator, were there. And they did a fabulous job questioning DEP and pushing, which is what needs to be done, because there's so many towns in Massachusetts and around the country that are contaminated. And come March of this year, all these towns are going to be out of compliance, and where are we going to get the money from?
You know, these are the consequences of bad decisions.
Yes, they are, indeed.
I mean, building a wastewater treatment plant close to our town wells, this was something we fought against, but we lost at town meeting.
My 18-year-old son was booed at town meeting.
I remember that.
Because he was arguing against it. And they booed my husband, and they booed me, and they told us to sit down and shut up, and there you go, guys, you got it. You got what you wanted. You got your wastewater treatment plant 1,000 feet from our well, and now you have PFAS contamination.
I'm having more senior moments lately, but as I recall, I think I spoke against it too.
You did.
Did I?
Yes, you
good.
did.
You're young enough to remember. Okay, so, but I recommend this for $129. You have the peace of mind to know that you're not going to develop any health problems and so forth. And my son-in-law, who's a securities lawyer, came up with my daughter and my 2 grandchildren for Thanksgiving, and I had it ready for him because although he's an attorney, he can do anything. Good. He could open his own restaurant. He's this magnificent gourmet chef. He can lay tile. He can fix anything. He can do anything with his hands. So he has hands and brain all intact. So in less than 20 minutes, he installed it.
Yeah, it was very easy. And we also got a shower filter. We caught an Aqua Bliss. It was $35.
Oh my goodness, I have to get that.
Yep, it's very easy. My husband just installed it. It just screws in to your existing shower. And the Aqua Bliss, and it's a granular activated carbon, which is what takes out the PFAS. And we put it in our shower, and now I feel safer.
Great.
I don't rush in and rush out anymore.
Now, where can you get an Aqua Bliss?
I ordered it online.
Amazon?
No, I just went to Aqua Bliss's website.
At their website?
Yeah, because that was we need to get a GAC, a granular activated carbon filter, and that was the only brand I could find that had it. So I bought it.
Okay.
Yeah.
$35. There's another. It goes to your skin. I mean.
Yeah.
But my son-in-law said the water tasted great. He couldn't believe how great
the A.O.
water.
Smith filter is fabulous. I love it.
The what?
The A.O. Smith filter.
Yeah,
the ones
A.O.
we
Smith.
have. Yeah.
She talks very quickly.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
So A.O. Smith. You got that, everyone? A.O. Smith. Now I got the 2-filter, which you recommended, but they also have a 3-filter, 4-filter. So it depends on what your budget is and so forth. But I think this works just fine.
Yeah, you have to make sure that you get one that's certified by NSF to remove PFAS. Otherwise, you will not get your rebate from the town. And you can't always trust companies. A lot of people said, hey, how about this filter? And it's not NSF certified. NSF is a third-party, independent certification program.
My goodness, I better check.
Well, A.O. Smith is.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Good.
I checked.
Okay, good. So I don't have to worry.
No, you're all set.
Yeah. And the rebate, I called the other day and to the water department in Easton, and they said, just go online, easton.ma.us, and go to the water department, and you'll see the requirements for obtaining this rebate. Now, you don't get cash, but I believe, but they give you a credit on your water bill. So, pretty nice.
Our water rates will go up substantially because we've got to figure out a way to pay for this filtration plant that we need.
Yeah.
So the town of Easton, I think, is being great. They're really taking this seriously. They're one of the first towns to, a lot of towns, like the town of Sharon, is refusing to test their water, and they're about to put an artificial turf field in 100 feet from Lake Maspug. Just want to bang my head into a wall when I hear that. And near their drinking water well. But Easton is taking this very seriously, and I would love to see the town educate the residents about how we can stop it at its source. So, for example, my husband and I, we cleaned out all of our cabinets, we got rid of all of our nonstick cake pan, everything nonstick. Because remember, if you bake a cake in a nonstick pan and you go to the sink and you wash it and that goes down your drain, and especially if you're in the sewer district, that's going right into our well. So that PFAS from your pan is going into everyone else's drinking water. So there are things that we can do as a town and as residents to minimize the amount of PFAS that gets into our water.
Yeah, now that was another question I was going to ask you, what we as Easton residents can do to eliminate not only our carbon footprint, but also the PFAS problem and other toxins.
Oh, there's so much we can do. My personal feeling, and I know people think I'm crazy, but we're really almost too late, if not too late, with climate change. But we have to keep trying, right? So instead of being part of the problem, even though individual action, we need more than individual action, we need government action at all levels. We can do whatever we can, not only to minimize our own personal risk, but to help the world. And as you know, I have solar panels. We generate 118% of our electricity, so I make money every month. And even if you can't afford to put solar panels on your house, or even if your house isn't oriented the right way for solar panels, you can contact a company to purchase solar power instead of buying coal.
Right, that's what I do.
Yep.
I think it's called Choice Energy.
Yep.
And it's only wind and solar. And then there was another one that came, I wasn't home and they put a thing on my door. They're going door to door with solar and wind.
It's important. I mean, and there are other things, like I had to wake up for work a couple weeks ago at 4 in the morning, and I was walking my dogs around the block, and there are 37 houses in my little subdivision, and only 14 of them were dark. All the other ones had outside lights blaring.
No.
It's like, why? It doesn't keep, you know what? If there's a bad guy coming and you have your lights off, they're gonna have to pull out a flashlight. They're not gonna be able to see. So a flashlight's easier to see, I think. So I really think that turning off your porch lights, turning off your lights when you leave the room, not being wasteful, taking short showers, not watering your lawn, because that takes electricity. Don't drive if you can walk.
Right.
Don't use plastic bags.
Right.
I'm trying to rid plastic from my house. I buy shampoo now that's in refillable aluminum cans. I don't use liquid soap anymore. Gone back to old regular bar soap that comes naked. Right. Comes wrapped in a piece of paper. I'm just trying to get rid of all plastic. I buy bulk. I have mesh bags, and when I go to the grocery store, I go to the bulk section, and it's cheaper, and then I put them in glass jars when I get home.
What do you put in glass jars?
Rice, oatmeal, whatever I buy.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So I buy bulk food,
Right.
bring it home.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I always
it's not
do-
as easy,
No.
but we're past the point of,
Right.
we're going to have to make some compromises and difficult decisions.
Right. Now, what I do is I had 2 Pyrex rectangular dishes with in that aqua that was popular in the 50s, right? And a clear glass lid. And I found those in the house when I moved back home 17 years ago. My mother had them. And I used them to store leftovers.
Yep.
And I'm not using my plastic containers. I'm using glass.
Me
and
too.
I got a present from my son to give to the chef, his brother-in-law, and they were 18 pieces, 18 different glass storage with, but they had plastic lids. I'm going to have to check that out to see
Yeah.
if there's any PFAS in those.
Probably not in those, but what I've been doing is I'm buying. So I have those glass
Right.
containers, but that type of plastic usually doesn't have the PFAS in it. But it also they rip, and then you have to throw them out, which is not a good thing. Because
You know, I want to say another thing. I recently discovered that I go to Market Basket in Brockton, and they have a recyclable, it says recycle your plastic bags here. But I'm assuming they can recycle everything. So, all plastics?
So here's
I
the
dumped
thing.
I dumped a lot of plastic things in there, and I'm saving my plastic wrap, which I really don't want to use, but I save it and I recycle it at the Market Basket.
I don't think it can take it, number one. But number two, guess what percentage of the plastics that we recycle actually get recycled?
Uh-oh.
Guess what percent?
What,
Tell me.
1%?
No, not that bad, but 8.4.
Oh my goodness.
That's EPA's number. 8.4% of the plastic that we recycle gets recycled. The rest gets landfilled. So the bottom line is just don't use plastic. It's almost impossible to avoid it entirely right now. We're heading that direction, but we really shouldn't be using it. The environmental costs of making plastic and then what it does to the environment afterwards.
Right.
Microplastics that we're drinking, it's in food. There's more plastic in the ocean than there are fish. They're finding it in shrimp, in fish. Every time you eat seafood, you're eating plastic. And it's not good for you because those little microplastics are toxic time bombs. They like suck up all the toxins and then they get in your body.
Well, I read a study where these micro particles of plastic are in the water in plastic containers.
Yes, they are.
And I see people all the time buying, big loads of these bottles all wrapped up in
Crazy,
plastic,
right?
of course. Yeah.
Yep. I buy my toilet paper and my paper towels. They're wrapped in paper, not in plastic. I make conscious decision. Even my toothpaste comes in a glass jar now. I just have made a conscious decision to try to avoid plastic. And part of the problem is that the manufacture of plastic is environmentally very costly from not only the energy standpoint, but also the breakdown of it and what happens to it after we no longer use it.
Yeah, wow. So where do you get toothpaste? That's not
I buy it online.
So you just go. So I guess all we have to do is Google a product, whatever product we're looking for, that's not packaged in plastic, and we'll get sites. Is that the way we do it?
Yeah, you can do that. And there are also stores. Like there's a store in New York City that's entirely plastic free, and it sells everything.
Wow.
And but you can just Google, like the way I found the shampoo that I use now, which is called Plain, Plaine. Comes in aluminum bottles. It's got a plastic pump, but you save those. When your bottles are almost empty, you order a new set, and then when they're empty, you rinse them out and send them back, and they reuse them, and you keep your pump. And I just Googled shampoo in metal or glass, and this company came up.
Wow.
You can buy deodorant in glass jars. You can get pretty much everything.
And shampoo.
Shampoo, conditioner, toothpaste, deodorant, whatever you
Even
want.
those shimmering lights that we seniors like to use to get rid of the yellow.
That probably will not come in a glass jar, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah.
But cleaning products too, I buy my laundry detergent comes in a cardboard container. And I buy soap. that comes wrapped in soap bars, because there's a lot of PFAS, believe it or not, in liquid soap.
Yeah, oh boy.
Yeah.
I guess I have to get rid of that.
Yeah,
but now,
liquid soap's not
what
good.
about, what's that thing with Hammer, something in Hammer?
Arm & Hammer?
Yeah, they have a
A
cardboard.
cardboard box, yeah. I don't use that because it's got, usually fragrance and other stuff in
Oh.
it that I don't. But
What about Tide? That comes also in
yeah,
paper.
so my dishwasher detergent is, I think I use 7th generation in a box, because that's no plastic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Seventh
so
generation.
anything in a cardboard box is better than a plastic jug.
Right.
So one of the hardest transitions I had was maple syrup. I love maple syrup, and the smaller containers come in glass,
Oh,
but I
right.
put it on my oatmeal every morning, so I go through it quickly. So I used to buy the big plastic ones, and now I don't want to anymore. But Trader Joe's has big glass jars of
Really?
maple syrup. Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
how good to know.
Yep.
Good to know, because I haven't, I hadn't thought about all that.
Yeah, you just have to
Start thinking.
one step at a time.
Yeah.
And start thinking.
But I always buy the maple syrup to bring down every time I visit my daughter, because they use it on their pancakes and waffles, and they love it. But
Trader Joe's has that big.
yeah,
glass
Trader
bottles.
Joe's. I'm going to go there. No more plastic maple syrup.
Yeah, I mean it's.
Yeah, it really, even for smart people like me, I need to be taught, educated.
Well, it's not we've become so used to the convenience.
Yes.
And so there are all sorts of articles. The FDA is saying maybe you guys shouldn't eat out so much, because there's more PFAS when you eat out in restaurants because of the pans they use, and because the takeout, when you buy
Yeah.
takeout or when they send you home with leftovers. When I go to a restaurant, my husband and I eat at our favorite Thai place every once a week, and I bring metal containers for the leftovers. They're fine with it. Because
Where do you
I don't
get a
want
metal container?
I think it's called LifeBot. You can buy them on Amazon or anywhere if you just Google metal food containers. They're stainless steel. They've got lids. They don't leak. My husband's lunchbox, I make lunch for him when he goes to work. It's all metal. It's got a little lock.
Like the old days.
It's like one of those TV trays, with the different compartments.
Yeah.
Put his sandwich in one and his fruit in another. And he's got a metal bottle for his water that
Yeah.
he brings because even MWRA water has PFAS in it. So I give him filtered water to bring. And we have no plastic, none.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. I was at a restaurant with friends a few weeks ago, and it was a Mexican restaurant in Brockton, and I could not eat almost. We had an appetizer, which was a big mistake, and I couldn't eat I only ate 1/3 of the main course. So what did they bring to the table but a styrofoam?
Oh, right.
Oh, styrofoam.
I keep things in my car. Grocery bags, I keep canvas bags in my car.
Yeah.
And I keep, whenever we go out to eat, I just grab either glass or tin,
Right.
the aluminum or stainless steel to put the leftovers in.
Yeah. Right.
It's not that hard.
No, it isn't. That's a good idea. Well, I don't eat out that much, but,
Right,
I
but
think
when
I'll
you
look
do,
into it when I do. Yeah.
I can email you the links to the ones that I have that I really like.
Oh, that's good. I would love that.
They also have silicone reusable Ziploc bags. They've got a zip, so you can put
Oh.
liquids or whatever to
Yeah.
store and it's fine. They reusable for
Well,
thousands of times.
I'm sure if you sent them to ECAT, that they would put them at the end of this interview for the whole, all of you to see.
I can email you the links. I even buy for my dishwashing liquid. I buy these really cool. They're tubes made out of some kind of food grade wax, and you cut off the end and it's concentrated, and I put it into a glass jar, add water, reconstitute it, and then you can compost the container that it came in.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And here I just bought those, and they're plastic, aren't they? Covered with plastic.
Yeah, they are.
The soap things you put
Yeah.
in the
Yeah, they're covered with
dishwasher.
plastic.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I can return those. I haven't used.
There's some things that you, right now, can't avoid plastic in. For example, we live in ground zero for Tripoli and West Nile and all those awful mosquito diseases here in Easton. And the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, says there are basically 2 approved pesticides that you can use on yourself. One is DEET, which is
Oh.
a carcinogen and awful for you.
Yep.
And the other one is lemon eucalyptus oil, which is all natural,
Right.
doesn't hurt you. So I buy Repel's brand of lemon eucalyptus spray. It works like a charm.
Where do you get it?
I buy it. You know, believe it or not, they have it at Ocean State Job
That's
Lot.
where I got mine. Now I remember. You told me to go there.
And they have it for
They
cheap.
have it, but you have to look for it.
You have to look for
And
it.
they only had 3 or 4 bottles
Yeah.
when I was there.
Yeah, buy them all. I went through a lot this year. But that's in plastic. But I have no choice. It's
No.
like,
Right.
die.
But the
or-
EPA recommends that.
Yep.
Oh, that's
CDC.
good. Oh,
CDC.
CDC, the Center for Disease Control. Oh, that's wonderful to know.
Oh, it's great stuff.
Yeah.
You just have to apply it more often,
Right.
like
Right.
every 90 minutes instead of every 3 hours.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know.
But you're only if you're only going to be out for half an hour or so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It
Yeah.
works great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go out when you're gardening. Put it on.
People thought we were crazy. We walked, because this summer we had bad EEE outbreak. We still walked our dogs at dusk, at dawn. I felt perfectly comfortable using that stuff. And
And you put it on the dogs too?
no, the dogs, I have a special dog spray that I put on them. Yeah, that I got at Petstream too, the pet store at Shaw's Five Corner. Yeah.
Where?
At Shaw, next to Shaw's at Five Corners. There's an independent pet store there.
Oh, really?
And they sell, and it's not in a plastic bottle, they sell a metal bottle of herbal mosquito spray for dogs. It worked really well.
No kidding. Oh boy, all this information. You might have to go on, if you're watching this on your television, you need to go on eastoncat.org and repeat this program. Have a pad of paper and pen and write all of these wonderful
I would be happy to provide a list to anybody who wants it of things that, here's so many people say to me, oh, I don't want to do that, or I still want to eat my bacon, because that's the other big thing you can do for climate change is reduce your meat and dairy consumption, especially now that so many of the humane laws have been removed at the federal level, so that these animals are really suffering in these slaughterhouses. So if you don't care about climate change, think about the animals. Reduce your meat and dairy consumption. And people are like, oh, I don't want to give up my bacon. Well, I'm sorry, but we have to do something.
Right, right,
Otherwise, we're all going to die.
right. I know. The planet is on its way to extinction.
Yes.
Of course, when that happens, you and I won't be here, but
Our children will, or our children's children.
Children's, yeah. Our families.
My husband just read an article that said that the temperature peak, if we do start addressing this, will be in 2050, which is only 30 years from now. So you and I may not be alive, but my kids will be alive.
Right, my kids too, yeah. And the way the ice in Antarctica is melting, the icebergs are falling apart and melting, they say, how many years it's going to rise, how many feet. It's catastrophic, so that all the coastal cities will be underwater.
The latest map I saw showed Easton being underwater.
Really?
Not tomorrow, but
Right.
yeah.
Oh boy.
Both coasts, and then down, of course, Florida's gone.
Yeah, forget Florida.
Yeah, don't move to Florida.
Right, don't move to Florida, people. It's a waste of money.
It really is. Or New Orleans.
Yeah. What do you think it's going to take to get the world's attention? The world's attention has been gotten, but people just don't want to deal with it.
I have to hope that the young people, the Greta Thunbergs
Yes,
of
Thulin. No,
Thunberg.
Thunberg.
There you go. You got the right pronunciation.
Swedish.
But I have to believe that the young people like Greta and others will outlive those of us who don't believe it or don't want to do anything about it. And they will have to make a change if they want to survive. Australia's on fire.
Right.
There's flooding elsewhere.
California's on fire.
We see,
Right.
we see it, and yet there are still people who don't believe
Oh, it's only a natural phenomenon.
Right, or it's cyclical, or
Yeah,
humans
right.
aren't causing it.
Yeah.
Only God can
Right.
cause weather.
It's so ridiculous. The evidence is right there in your neighborhood, in your communities.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look, it's January 31st.
Right.
I'm giving a winter tracking walk in Borderland tomorrow. We don't have any snow.
I know. I was going to announce
Past
that.
3 years, we
What-
don't have any snow.
So that would be on February 1st. What time?
It's at 10 o'clock. We meet at the visitor center. It's open. I know there's no snow, but we still look for tracks in the mud, and we look for other signs, the nibbling off of branches and nests and things like that. So we do look we do find things, even though there's no snow, but it's so much better when there's snow.
Yeah,
and
I hope
my husband and I have been doing this for 30 years, and you know, back when we first started, there would be 2 feet of snow, and one year we found this owl, the prints of an owl that it dove down and caught a mouse. And you could see the wings prints in the snow and the blood from the mouse and the little footprints, and then the footprints were gone. And it was, I mean, things have changed even in the past 30 years, changed drastically with regard to weather.
This morning's temperature was 40.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it's going to get warmer tomorrow and Sunday. For the next week, it's going to be in the 40s. And, you know, it's February. It'll be February tomorrow.
And, you know, people who say, oh, I don't mind if it's not cold, that's not the problem.
No.
The problem is we're going to have extreme droughts, more extreme storms, and we're going to have more diseases because mosquitoes and ticks. You know that we have Rocky Mountain spotted fever here in Easton now?
No.
We do.
Rocky Mountain?
And ticks with Rocky Mountain spotted fever. Yep.
Wow. Well, I was hospitalized for a week at Beth Israel in September, I think, with babesiosis.
Oh, yeah. Tick diseases are awful.
And yeah, so now I'm very, you know, I always put on my repellent before I go out. I got it in my backyard. But then I live next to conservation land, the woods there.
The tick problem is really a public health emergency.
Yeah, it is. It's an epidemic.
It is. And my husband spent 10 days in the hospital with Lyme. He had it bad.
Wow.
The thing to do there is to not kill the coyotes and the foxes and the predators because, you know, everyone says, oh, it's the deer. Well, no. I mean, it is, but it's also the mice. The mice are the primary vector. So who eats the mice? The coyotes and the fox.
Right, the coyotes and the foxes, yeah.
So we shouldn't be hunting them.
Right.
And we are.
Yeah.
There are coyote killing contests in Massachusetts.
Really?
Who can kill the most in one day?
Oh my God, how terrible.
Awful.
And they're beautiful animals.
Well, the ones we have here are 40% coyote. No, I'm sorry, 50% coyote, 40% wolf, and 10% domestic dog.
Wow.
That's why they're so big here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, when I first moved back, I saw one in my backyard. I was crossing in my backyard and going east, and it was gorgeous.
They're beautiful animals.
And it was so healthy, and it had this beautiful golden fur, and this huge bushy tail. It
sounds like it was healthy. We have a red-haired one in our
Do
yard.
you?
Yeah. It's like we call it ginger because it's, but we see it all the time.
Yeah. And foxes are so important.
Yes,
also.
they are.
Yeah,
all of the predators are.
Yeah, right.
Bobcat, we have bobcat here.
We do? Oh, how nice. I only thought they were in...
They're very shy, but we do have them.
Okay. Thought they were more in New Hampshire and Maine.
And otters. We have so many otters in Borderland. They're so fun to watch.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
I've never seen one.
Oh, they're great.
Well, maybe tomorrow morning we will.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Now, one thing that you reminded me that I wanted to talk about was the methane that comes from our food waste. And so I now am composting all of my peelings and eggshells and coffee grinds and, you know, lettuce, everything, that tomatoes and so forth. And I also am going to investigate at Lowe's or Home Depot for one of those compost, you know, we put containers.
We have one. We have two, actually. Yeah, we've been composting for,
Yeah, and then you can turn them, too.
Ours are these big spheres, and you can actually roll them. But we have two of them. We've been composting for years, which really cuts down on your garbage. Like, you know, garbage comes once a week. We only bring ours out once every 2 weeks because we just don't.
Well, since I've been doing this, and I just started about a month ago. I'm sorry.
Better late than never.
Huh?
Better late than never.
Right, and because I really didn't realize it about the methane, which is very harmful for our
methane is much more harmful than carbon dioxide.
Is it?
Yep, it's much more harmful as far as greenhouse gases. It's much harder. It's awful stuff. And we waste an awful lot of food as Americans. And when you throw it out and it goes into the landfill, it breaks down and releases methane. So composting it and using it in your garden is a better way to do it.
Absolutely.
But,
and if you can't do that, you can just take some chicken wire, make a big circle, and don't make the chicken wire too high so you can't. You have to go in and turn it every once in a while, and layer leaves. Right? I believe you can layer leaves and then compost. I mean, then food waste leaves and so forth, and then turn it occasionally. But and I have compost in my property only because I put leaves there. I've been home 17 years. You can imagine all the good soil must be under there. So.
There's, you know, it's one of the problems with doing it with the wire is it does attract wildlife. Ours are black plastic. We've had them for years, but they warm up, and it's funny, in the winter we find snakes sitting on top of the compost. We open it up to put more compost in. There's snakes there going, because they're trying to stay warm. But there are two things you can do. First of all, there's a service that comes around and picks up your compost and composts it for you. It's cheap. It's like $7 a week or something. Mm-hmm. So you leave it at the end of your driveway. They give you a bucket, and they pick it up, they compost it, and leave you a new clean bucket. So you can do that. Or there's this relatively new thing called the food cycler that people are trying to get cruise ships to use, because cruise ships, of course, bad actors usually. They dump all sorts of crap off, and they dump their food waste into the ocean, which is not good. So this food cycler, you put your scraps in and you turn it on. It's electric. You turn it on, and it, within an hour or something, my friends who have one say, it reduces it to like this ash that you can use in your garden or whatever, but it reduces it to nothing and it doesn't smell. So if you don't have the room in your yard, you can actually do it in your house.
Wow. There's a toilet that was invented in Sweden, and it's the waterless toilet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that does the same thing.
I have a waterless urinal in my house.
You do?
I do.
Oh my goodness. Well, you know, that's grist for another mill here, another story, because I do want to interview you because you were the first house in Easton that was certified green.
And we were the first house in Massachusetts to be LEED certified.
Oh, you were in Massachusetts?
Yeah, and our builder won Builder of the Year award in Massachusetts for building our house.
Really? Well, I've been in your house, and it's fascinating, and I love the fact that you don't have a lawn, and that you're growing, you have bushes and vegetables and all kinds of beautiful wildflowers. And what else do you have in the front yard?
We have a lot of fruit trees.
Fruit trees, yeah.
Blueberries, cherries, kiwi, you know, a lot of fruit trees. We had a peach, but it died. Mulberry.
Oh, mulberries! I love mulberries.
Yeah, it's very.
Where can you buy a mulberry tree?
I got it online.
Isn't that the thing? Everything.
Miller Nurseries, I think. Yeah, we planted a bunch of them. We had a lot of berries this year. This was
They're
a
so
good year.
sweet and wonderful. They're so much better than blackberries.
I think so.
Because they're sweet.
Yeah.
And blackberries.
The birds love them, but then they poop purple everywhere.
But then, and you've got to pick them all the time because you don't want them falling on the ground, because when they get rotted, they get squishy and it get purple and red and all kind. Yeah. But who cares? It's food for the birds.
It is food for the birds.
And you'll love it. I used to, when I lived in New York State, I go on this 3.5-mile walk every morning with a friend, and brisk walk. But near the end of that walk, we came to this wonderful mulberry tree, and it was very close to the road. And I'm sure that the owners didn't mind if we would just sit there and eat them. They were so wonderful.
Those trees can get pretty heavy with fruit.
Yes, very heavy.
Yeah.
And but it's wonderful in cereal.
Yeah, I've never tried that. That's a good idea.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, growing. So that's another thing you can do is grow your own food or buy from Langwater. Although I just read an article recently that said if you want to cut your carbon footprint, it's more important what you eat than where you buy it from. So in other words, it's better to be vegetarian or vegan and buy things from far away than it is to buy chicken, meat, and eggs from a local store.
I see. Yeah. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they've done all sorts of calculations about how much.
Well, I think most of us have more or less cut out red meat. I think, and bacon.
I would hope so at this point.
Pardon?
I would hope that people
Yes.
stop. It's not good for you.
No. I mean, it's something that's, with most people I know, it's very occasional that one has any kind of red meat. I eat a lot of fish because I'm Swedish, and chicken.
So when you read the new Globe article that's coming out,
I know,
next
the
week,
fish
you're
with the
not going to want to
plastic.
eat fish anymore.
I know. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But did you think it's also in the Norwegian waters?
Oh, it's everywhere. It's ubiquitous. They
Oh,
found
it's
it up in the
ubiquitous?
Arctic. Yeah,
Great.
there's no escaping. We have destroyed this planet, and we either have to do something drastic, or we're doomed. And that's not hyperbole.
No, right.
It truly, as a scientist,
Right.
and I'm not the only one saying this.
Right.
We really need to make some changes, both personally and as a nation.
I agree totally, and I thought when, here I'm having a senior moment, the vice president with Clinton.
Gore?
Thank you. Al Gore, if you're listening. When he came out with that book.
Inconvenient Truth.
Yeah, Inconvenient Truth. And it really is inconvenient, isn't it? The Inconvenient Truth. I thought that would make such a big difference, and there was so much pushback on that. It started the revolution, but it's petered out because of the overwhelming greed of manufacturers and corporations.
Well, yeah, I mean, look at, The Intercept. I don't know if you read The Intercept. There was a fabulous article that Sharon Lerner, one of the reporters, did just a couple days ago about this attorney who sued Chevron, and they destroyed his life. He won a huge judgment in Ecuador, and they took all of their money out of Ecuador so they wouldn't have to pay the judgment, and then they made it their mission to destroy this man who lives in New York, and they've destroyed his life. He's been disbarred, he has lost everything. The article was just stunning. But you'd think that companies like Chevron or Shell would see the writing on the wall and say, okay, this can't last forever, one way or the other. First of all, because we're trying to move away from fossil fuels, and second, because we're going to run out of them at some point. Wouldn't you think they'd go, maybe we should start moving into solar or even nuclear or wind or whatever, trying to shift their focus? But they're not. They just want to run it into the ground, make as much money as they can. But the bottom line is, you can't buy your way out of climate change. I don't care how rich you are. You can go into one of those luxurious bunkers for a year and eat your MREs and breathe filtered air. But when you come up, there's not going to be anything left.
Right.
So what does that get you? It buys you another year of life underground. I don't understand what they're thinking. I don't understand what the greed.
Yeah.
They can't take it with them.
Right. One of the things that I'm optimistic is because the car manufacturers are suddenly going all electric.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
It's wonderful. I think it was Toyota that said it by 2024 it would only have electric cars.
And that's the way it should be.
Absolutely.
I want to buy an electric
Me
vehicle.
too.
So badly.
I can only afford a used one, but I want to buy one.
My son said that the BMW electric vehicles, the used ones, are pretty cheap.
Really?
Yeah. And he said they're good.
Okay.
I'll get you the model number that he told me.
I know, but I need a small SUV.
They have, well, I'll get you set up.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I want to get another. We have a Tesla Powerwall.
What is that?
It's the battery. So so the other day, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, we lost power in our neighborhood. I got a message on my phone saying, you're now running on battery power. I'm like, oh, I am? Everyone else's generators were going off, and seamless transition. So we have a battery. It's about 4 feet tall by about 3 feet wide, and it's about 4 inches thick, and it's on our garage wall. And it can run our house all night long. So on a sunny day like today, it fills up with power. We both run our house, sell back to the grid, and fill up our battery. And then all night long, we draw from the battery. And in the morning, the sun comes up again.
Wow. Is this on the outside of the garage?
It's on the inside.
On the inside? But it still gets the solar?
No, the solar panels run into it.
Oh, I see.
So it fills up, so it's a battery.
Right.
And so we want to get another one, and an electric car one of these days.
Well, when are they going to get caught up with having charging stations?
Well, they're trying. I mean, there's one right at Cobb Corner that's
There
free.
is?
Yeah, it's Starbucks.
And free?
Free. Yep.
Oh my gosh.
So you could go and have a cup of coffee and charge your car.
How lovely.
Mm-hmm.
That's Cobb's Corner in Canton.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
That's
my.
Starbucks right there next to the
Oh yeah, right.
CVS and the UPS. Yeah, they have a charging station. Right
Yes, if you can just be sure you can calculate so you can get there.
In Europe, you can actually run your house off your car.
Mm-hmm.
You can
Wow.
plug your house into your car.
Yes, I've read that.
We're
And-
so far behind. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, as a country, we're
Right.
so far behind.
Mm.
But there are simple things. I mean, I know that not everyone can afford solar panels or an electric vehicle or whatever, but there are things that everybody can do to make a difference.
And you certainly have pointed them out today.
I tried.
So for that, I thank you, and the Easton listening audience thanks you. And once again, you have enlightened me, and I'm sure the audience has been enlightened, and we welcome you back again.
Thank you.
We certainly want to learn about your house, which was the first in Massachusetts to be certified green, and all of the benefits that provides. But also, we who cannot afford to have solar panels and so forth, we can do our part. And today, you have learned all of those little things that you can do that collectively can make a huge difference in the life of or death of our planet. Thank you for watching. This is Priscilla Almquist-Olson with Dr. Kyla Bennett, wishing you all the very best. Stay well.